The way this program works and the way it fits together is that people are often under the impression that the district attorney and the courts want to send people to jail. Just it's all about being punitive. And I find that that's not necessarily the truth. If you have a good attorney who can represent the facts of the case in such a way, along with social service who can represent the client in such a way as to show the positive aspects of the character's potential to move forward and be productive, you've given the court a alternative. And so most of the times the court doesn't have an alternative. It's you committed a crime, the law says you have to be punished. This program says you committed a crime, you have to be punished, but in the middle there's this part that says, can it be community service? Can it be drug treatment program? Can it be something that will benefit the individual as well as in the long run benefit society as a whole? Okay, we want to be able to rescue this individual from a life of habitual criminal activities so that they can in fact be good upstanding citizens of the United States. Okay, it's a wonderful country we live in. People often talk ill of the judicial system and how it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, but all things considered, okay, because I would say that of all of the clients that I've actually had on my caseload, there may have been a minute portion who have been incorrectly incarcerated, but for the most part they committed an offense. Okay, and when you commit an offense, there is a price to pay for that. We're trying to we don't want the price to be such that it affects you for the rest of your life and prevents you from becoming a contributing member of your community or society. So we say this is an alternative. And so I work with the lawyers, and what we do is the lawyer and I get together and the client get together, and collectively we put together a case management plan. You say this is what you want, this is what we're going to help you do. So we put that together. The lawyer has their input, the client has his or her input, I have my input as to whether or not it's achievable. And we set certain goals and dates for these things to be achieved. You say you want to get a job. Well, I'm going to give you a sheet next week. I want you to bring in this sheet and show me that you put in 10 applications. Okay, and this is how we make it work. So I work in conjunction with the lawyers as well as the client. I never want you to think that the attorney does this and the social service does this and the client doesn't have an input, because it's all about the client. So we respect the clients, because the GED is I strongly advise all of my clients who don't have a high school education to get a GED. But education ain't for everybody. So if the client says, I don't think I can do it, or I don't want to do it, I don't push it. So now let's look at what the next best alternative is, and that's to find some kind of employment that will accept you even with your limited education. So most of the time those entry-level jobs, and often they're minimum wage paying jobs, but I counsel the client on the choice that he's made not to get an education and how it will hinder and handicap him and put him in that minimum wage paying position, okay? But if he's okay with it or she is okay with it, at that point in their development, then I can't challenge it, because at that point in development, they're going to resist any information about how much education is going to help them succeed. So we all get together and try to make it work. Senate Bill 440 is a bill that was passed in 1996, and it sentenced juveniles from 13 to 17 as adults under the 7 deadly sins, murder, rape, armed robbery, and so they're sentenced as adults. And I've had several youth, 14, 15 years old, sentenced under that law. And you'd be surprised that veneer, okay, man, but they're children. The bottom line is that when you talk to them, you get to know them. They're children, okay? And then it's a mandatory 10 years. It's a mandatory 10 years. And so then they all cry. The 14, 15 years old, when they're facing 10 years, they all cry. They talking tough till it really begins to hit home what their situation is and the gravity of it all. And then they all cry. And one of the things that I counsel all of my clients about most of my clients are male. We're getting more female clients, more clients are male. Is that when you go to jail or when you go to prison, you don't go alone. You take your family with you. You take your friends with you. Anybody that cares and is concerned about you, you take them to jail or prison with you, okay? And so you leave a lot of people feeling a lot of unnecessary pain as a result of your inappropriate choices. And you'd be surprised at how much making a person aware of their own emotional feelings can begin to change their lives. Okay, years ago they had a campaign called Scared Straight. Scared Straight. I don't know if you remember the program Scared Straight. But what happens when you got young people who are already trying to find their identity and trying to find their role in society, especially young males? They think they're supposed to be tough and warriors and all. We've indoctrinated them into believing that, death before dishonor. Don't be the worst thing you can be as a coward. And then we turn right around and say we want to make you scared. You need to be scared. So it goes against what they've already been taught. But if you can somehow counsel them and reach that essence of the human heart that says they are caring and feeling individuals, it begins the healing process and they begin to change. Not to talk about the bad things they've done, but the good things that they've done and are capable of doing. Okay, because everybody wants to be loved and cared about. Everybody wants to get some attention, and attention, whether it's negative or positive, is attention. Okay, I just want to be noticed. And that's the same thing is happening with some of my adult clients. They just want to be noticed. They want to be somebody in the world that says they are nobody. Okay, and so a lot of what I do is one-on-one counseling about your own value and worth as an individual. I go to schools and I do presentations at schools, also community centers. Jesse Jackson had a little phrase years ago and it said, "I am somebody." It's such a very powerful statement, brief but very powerful. And so when I go to the schools, one of the first things I do is have the students individually say, "I am somebody." Now some of them are very resistant. I said, "Come on, don't do me like this, man. I'm here for you. It ain't gonna hurt you. Say it." And sometimes just the saying of the words begins the process. But I need them to each and every one, to understand they are important, they are valued, and so and that's the big part of it. People need to know that they matter in their life and in the bigger scheme of things. Okay, and then once you do that, you start them onto that road of recovery from misindoctrination and miseducation and inappropriate social teachings, about materialism and about how you deal with situations and the right might makes right. We talk about violence in our communities, in our society, but everywhere you look, there's that underlying principle that says, in order to have peace, we must have war. It's an underlying principle. In order for me to be okay, to be friends or be all right, I got to whack you in the head a couple times, and then after that we'll be. And that's just then the whole status thing. So it's a lot that goes into being a social worker that the attorneys never have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So I have to know the person. I have to understand their personality, their social history, their family history. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot, And then there's always that part of becoming emotionally involved with a person's situation. It's not easy to see a child or a young person go to prison with a life sentence, and he is 20 years old. Sometimes it can be very, very heartfelt. You can't display that. You got to keep your work face on. You know what I'm saying? But it's very difficult. 20 years old and he goes to prison for life. I can't say it's a waste because anybody that goes to prison, the one thing I tell them is bring something out. That's really, and then it isn't lost. It's merely a part and parcel to your development. Okay, it's a part of your journey. Bring something out. Okay,